They had one rule: never hit a government. It was the unofficial code of the Lynx ransomware group, a promise they made publicly. So when 1,000 secret files from 8 different British military bases suddenly appeared on the dark web in late 2025, the intelligence community had one burning question: who broke the rule and why? The answer would reveal a terrifying new frontline in modern warfare, a place where a nation's most sensitive military secrets aren't protected by soldiers and fences, but by the password security of their local electrical contractor. This isn't the story of a direct, sophisticated assault on the UK's Ministry of Defence. This is the story of something far more common and far more dangerous. It's the story of how a company that fixes light fixtures and maintains oil tanks became the back door into Britain's national security infrastructure, handing a Russian-linked cyber gang the keys to the kingdom. The target wasn't the Ministry of Defence itself. It was a company called Dodd Group. You've probably never heard of them. Based in Shropshire, they're a successful contractor with over 1,000 employees. They handle the unglamorous but essential work on military bases: electrical wiring, mechanical systems, construction, and maintenance. They're the people you call when a generator fails or a new security light needs to be installed. And because they do that work, they need access. They need blueprints, project plans, staff lists, and security protocols. They are, in cybersecurity terms, a trusted partner. And that trust was their vulnerability. Around September 23, 2025, hackers from the Lynx group slipped past Dodd Group's digital defenses. This wasn't a brute force attack against the firewalls of the Royal Air Force. It was a supply chain attack. Think of it like this: instead of trying to blow open the door to a bank vault, you just find the janitor who works at the bank, steal their keys, and walk right in. Dodd Group was the janitor, and the keys they held opened some of the most sensitive sites in the UK. Once inside Dodd Group's network, Lynx didn't just tiptoe around. They initiated a mass data heist. They claimed to have stolen a staggering 4 terabytes of data. To put that in perspective, 4 terabytes is the equivalent of about 2 million books. It's an entire library of information. And after they copied everything, they locked down Dodd Group systems with ransomware, leaving a simple, chilling message: pay us or we release everything. Negotiations, if there were any, failed, and Lynx made good on their threat. They created a page on their dark web leak site dedicated to Dodd Group and began posting trophies from their heist. Their message was pure psychological warfare, dripping with menace. You have the opportunity to resolve this before inevitable consequences. Then, the final, terrifying line: time is running out. So what was in this digital treasure chest that was worth risking an international incident? What could a maintenance contractor possibly have that would be so valuable? The answer is everything. The initial leak alone contained around 1,000 individual documents. And these weren't just corporate memos. They were marked official, sensitive, and controlled. This is data the government itself classifies as potentially damaging to national security if released. The files covered 8 different military installations, including some of the most critical defense sites in all of NATO. Let's start with the people. The leak exposed the names, personal email addresses, mobile phone numbers, and even the vehicle registrations of Ministry of Defense staff and contractors. Think about that for a second. For an intelligence agency, this is a gold mine. It's a directory for espionage. You now have the contact information for people with access to sensitive locations. You can target them with phishing emails, try to compromise their personal devices, or even approach them for blackmail or recruitment. The threat just walked off the digital battlefield and onto their personal doorstep. But it gets much, much worse. The data wasn't just about people. It was about places. Critically sensitive places. One of the bases named in the leak was RAF Portrait. This isn't just any airbase. It's a top-secret NATO radar station. Its entire purpose is to provide long-range air defense monitoring for the UK. The leaked documents included detailed project plans and schematics related to work being done on the base. A foreign adversary could use this to understand the base's layout, its technical capabilities, and potential vulnerabilities in its infrastructure. Then there's RAF Predanak. In 2025, this base was known as the UK's national drone hub. It's the heart of Britain's unmanned aerial systems development and operations. And Lynx leaked documents related to it. Imagine a hostile power getting their hands on construction records, visitor logs, and security guidance for the place where your most advanced military drones are being tested. You could map out the facility's blind spots, track the movement of key personnel, and build a complete intelligence picture of their drone operations, all from a laptop thousands of miles away. The list goes on. RNAS Caldros, one of Europe's largest helicopter bases, RAF Lakenheath, and RAF Mildenhall, two crucial bases in England that host thousands of US Air Force personnel and advanced American aircraft. The breach didn't just expose British secrets, it exposed American ones too, turning this into a major international security incident. The leaked files contained everything, from visitor logs, literally a list of who is coming and going, to the technical details of projects like lighting installations and the construction of new oil tanks with other major contractors like Care Group. It might sound boring, but to an intelligence analyst, a blueprint for an oil tank shows you exactly where to strike to cause maximum disruption. To understand why this happened, you need to understand the attackers. Who is the Lynx group? They were relatively new on the scene, emerging in mid-2024. They are believed to be the successor to another notorious Russian ransomware gang known as INC. Lynx operates on a ransomware as a service model, or RaaS. This means the core developers create the malicious software and the infrastructure, and then they lease it out to other criminals or affiliates who carry out the attacks. In return, the developers take a cut of the ransom profits. This model makes attribution incredibly difficult. Is the attack directed by the Kremlin, or is it just a criminal enterprise operating with the tacit approval of the Russian state. The lines are intentionally blurry. But when Lynx first appeared, they made that public pledge. They would not target government entities, healthcare, or educational institutions. Their attack on Dot Group, a contractor whose entire business revolves around government defense work, blew that promise to pieces. This breach was part of a wider aggressive spree for Lynx in 2025. They hit a major Australian firm, stealing 170 gigabytes. They hit Clutch Industries, taking 350 gigabytes. They were hitting companies in construction, finance, and manufacturing across the globe. But the Dot Group attack was different. It was a direct challenge to a major NATO power. After their initial threats, they put the data up for sale on the dark web, available to, in their words, any interested parties. The subtext was clear. While they might accept a ransom from the company, the real customers for this data weren't other criminals. They were nation-states. China, Iran, North Korea, and of course, Russia. The response from the victims was, predictably, a mix of damage control and investigation. Dot Group released a statement confirming a ransomware incident where an unauthorized third party gained temporary access to part of our internal systems. They claimed the incident was contained, that they had hired forensic experts, and that only limited data was affected. But that claim immediately fell apart. While Dot Group was saying limited data, Lynx was on the dark web posting hundreds and hundreds of sensitive military files as proof. Cybersecurity experts were not impressed. They sided with the hackers, pointing out that even a fraction of 4 terabytes from a defense contractor is an intelligence disaster. Dot Group issued an apology and promised to enhance its security, but the damage was done. The keys had already been copied. The Ministry of Defense, for its part, was forced to confirm it was actively investigating the claims, but they remained tight-lipped, refusing to provide details to avoid compromising their own operational security. Behind the scenes, a massive damage assessment was underway. They had to figure out exactly what was stolen, which personnel were compromised, and what security protocols at 8 different bases now needed to be completely overhauled. The fact that US bases were involved triggered urgent transatlantic conversations. This entire incident throws a harsh spotlight on some incredibly difficult questions. The first and most obvious is the glaring security lapse. How could a defense contractor working on top secret sites have such weak cybersecurity that it could be breached? This wasn't the first time the MOD's supply chain had failed. In 2023, the ministry was fined nearly $500,000 for a different data breach that exposed the personal information of 265 Afghan interpreters, putting their lives at risk. The Lynx breach proved that the lesson had not been learned. It sparked intense calls for tighter cyber hygiene across the entire defense supply chain, with experts arguing that in the 21st century, every single contractor is part of the national defense infrastructure. Then there's the ransom debate. We don't know if Dot Group paid any money, but the incident happened just as the UK was finalizing its new Cyber Security and Resilience Bill, a landmark piece of legislation due in early 2026 that would make it illegal for British companies to pay ransoms to hackers. Proponents argue that paying ransoms only funds criminal enterprises and encourages more attacks. If you cut off the money, you cut off the motivation. But critics argue it's not that simple. Sometimes paying a ransom is the only way to prevent catastrophic data leaks or to restore critical services quickly. For a company like Dodd Group, would it have been better to pay the criminals to keep military secrets offline, even if that money ended up in the hands of a Russian-linked gang? Or is it better to uphold the principle of not negotiating with terrorists, even if it means blueprints for your drone base end up on the dark web? The new law would take that choice away. Finally, there's the geopolitical dimension. While Western intelligence agencies have described Lynx as Russia-linked, there is no official government confirmation of a direct link to the Kremlin. But it doesn't really matter. Whether it was a state-directed operation or a private criminal gang that Moscow simply allows to operate, the outcome is the same. Highly sensitive NATO military intelligence was stolen and put up for sale. It's a perfect example of the grey zone warfare Russia has perfected, using proxies and cutouts to create plausible deniability while still achieving strategic objectives. The goal is to destabilize, to gather intelligence, and to sow discord, all without firing a single shot. The Lynx breach was a brutal wake-up call. It demonstrated that the front lines of modern conflict are no longer just on a physical battlefield. The front line is now the server room of a mid-sized construction company in Shropshire. It's the inbox of an employee at a logistics firm. It's any weak link in an infinitely complex digital supply chain. The data from Dodd Group is still out there. It's been copied, sold, and analyzed by intelligence agencies around the world. The names and phone numbers of military personnel are on lists. The layouts of sensitive bases are in the hands of adversaries. The consequences of this breach won't be felt in a single, explosive moment, but will unfold over years, in the form of more targeted cyber attacks, more effective espionage, and a military that has to constantly look over its shoulder, wondering which of its secrets are still secret. The battle for Britain's national security wasn't fought in the skies over RAF Portreeve. It was lost on a server in a contractor's office. And the next battle could be happening right now, inside the network of a company you've never even heard of. If you want to understand the hidden conflicts that are shaping the 21st century, make sure you subscribe and hit the notification bell, because we are just scratching the surface. Thanks for watching.